Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um,
So welcome into
yes,
I'm Michael. Student here, want to be like you.
Hey,
Name is Kemi.
you can be greater, bro. Eh,
Hello, my name is Kemi. Nice to meet you, Hunduka.
nice to meet you. You were breaking up, Kim.
Yeah,
Something
so
maybe it's not.
yeah, so tell us, what was your experience like? You were here for 3 months, almost 3 months. So what was your experience like? Uh, were you the only one that attended the training? And yeah, let's start with that.
Oh, okay. So basically, welcome. Good evening, everybody. Like you guys already know, my name is Unduka. I'll give you guys a brief background. So, by trade, I was actually a on-prem database administrator, mostly on Oracle/SQL Server. So I was at the point in my career whereby I knew I needed more skills in order for me to, get myself into a better position to better situate myself and other things, basically financial slash also advancement in career. So I was speaking to one of my very good friends, and he was like, "Oh," I told him, I said, "I think Azure's the next step," and he was like, "Oh, I have this guy, Blex. He could help you out." I think Blex was already like two. That session was already like two sessions. You already had two classes already.
Yeah.
And I came in, and because I had prior experience with Azure, but it wasn't like intense, but it was just like regular admin stuff. So Blex was like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll be able to catch you up. That's no issue." So I came in. He rolled out the materials to me. Then from there, slowly started getting a very good concept. We started with the basic stuff. He rolled me, took me some other stuff, and just brought me along. So I did some other studies too, but I was always piggyback with him. I would always ask him questions, and he was literally readily available to answer my questions. So it was getting to the point whereby he gives us assignment. We were two in the class actually. Some one other guy was already in there with me in the class. Um, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember his name right now. But we were two in the class. So when I came in, he was also in there. We had some collaborative efforts, some other things we did together. We were always, picking back off of each other. The good thing about our class was that he was actually almost similar background because it was in healthcare. We both started off like we were in healthcare as of that time. So Blex kind of tailored that class towards healthcare. From some of the policies we learned, subscriptions, some compliance rules, all of those things were literally tailored towards healthcare. A lot of things we tailored that class. That's the good thing about Flex. He kind of like tailored that class towards healthcare. I hope I'm not spilling way too much. I'll wait till you ask me the next question. But
Okay.
yeah, that was my background. The experience was really good. Huh?
Yeah.
I
So
hope I'm not spilling
how
too
long?
much. Let me
No,
stop.
no, no, no. So how long did it take you to pass your AZ 104 certification?
Man, it was one time, man. It was one time. I gotta tell you guys, Blex was like, listen, if you want to pass this class, you gotta take it seriously. If you want to pass this exam, you gotta take it seriously. So he told me, listen, all you have to do is make sure you understand the concept. And that's the one thing you guys are going to understand with this class is once you understand the concept, take your time. Don't just rush through the class, but try as much as possible to understand the concept because with each class or which each lesson, you're building the foundation for a lot of things. So I know a lot of times, basically what the classes you guys are going through is probably security, database, networking, uh, infrastructure, a lot of other things will come in. But in order for you to really understand the class, literally you have to understand the basic concept. Just go through the class. Blex was like, if you understand the concepts, the questions will be a lot easier for you. So pretty much that's what happened. Before I started studying for the exam, I went back to every single thing I did on the class. I watched the video about four. One thing about me is like I kind of get obsessive with things that I really like. So I watch the videos 4 or 5 times, 6 times. I would always text Blex to say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" It was funny because I remember the class, he was trying to push me towards Kubernetes. And I did it with like once or twice. I told him, I said, this is not for me because it was too hard. But when the exam came in, I studied literally for good 3 months. Sorry, 1 month. The first exam I studied for, which was AD 104, AZ 104. I studied for 1 month. It was one time I passed the exam. I think I was in the 90th percentile. I think it was 91. So he pushed me. He was like, "Okay, you got this. You definitely should go for solutions architect ASAP." So with the experience I got from 104, I was like, I think I could do 2 weeks with solutions architect. And with that, I was able to knock off solutions architect in like 2 weeks. I only studied for like 2 weeks just because I built from 104, and every material that I studied from 104 kind of carried away because basically all you're doing is admin stuff, 104, and solutions architect is more like the reason why you're doing stuff and why you're implementing. So it's kind of a build up. Then security, I don't know if he wants me to go into security. Security, I kind of goofed off. But I didn't study as much as I could for security engineering, but I was literally on the mark. So it was piggyback off of the training he gave us because it was literally securing applications in the VM in the cloud, securing virtual machines in the cloud, securing applications, basically just like your regular PCs. So he tailored everything towards the class that I didn't necessarily need to study so much for the security, but I wish I did. Even though I passed the class, I was just on the dot to pass. So that one I goofed off. Uh, but I kind of felt like it was because I already knew I already got the job that I currently am working in. So I didn't take it too seriously. But AZ 104 and solutions architect, I buried my head into it. I tell you, if you do the same, you're gonna be just fine. Studied day and night, repetitive, repetitive. It gave me a very good understanding of foundation. And it wasn't an easy process, but you could do it. If I could do it, you could do it. But just listen to whatever he tells you. 104 was I would say was the hardest, but once you break through 104, solutions architect will be easier because it's more about why you're implementing what you're implementing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So the goal was to finish the course and take AZ 104. So when I saw is, like I used to say, stay hungry. You have to be hungry. If you are too, now it depends on you. So some of us, it's not like they are chasing us from our current job. It's not like we're under pressure. Perhaps we are doing this because we just want additional knowledge, a layer of knowledge. And for some of us, we are really desperate and that our life depends on this. So when you show that you are hungry, naturally, I will gravitate towards you. So it showed that I was hungry. It passed it within 30 days. And I said, you can do this. Go for solutions architect because it puts you in a pole position when they are making decisions on recruitment, on hiring. So if push comes to shove and they are like two people, so who should we pick? The person that has, okay, who is certified? Both of them are certified. Okay, how many certifications? This one has administrator, just administration. But this one has administration as solutions architect. So he's an architect, is a cloud architect. So they will rather go for a cloud architect because that's additional layer of experience. He cleared the cloud architect, and I told him, well, good for you, but if you want an easy life in this environment, you have to go into security. Why security? Of course, security will have its moments, but you are not being put. If you practice as a solutions architect, God help you, depending on the environment you find yourself. So you might be doing data today. Tomorrow you might be managing databases. Tomorrow you might be designing entire infrastructure, just like those designs I showed you. But if you have a background as an administrator, as an analyst, if I have a background as an administrator, as a solutions architect, then you can function in security because now you understand why you are securing. You know the importance. You know
Right.
The risk involved if you don't secure those infrastructure. So security is like the icing on the cake. That's why I always push eventually, no matter how the conversation goes, we will land on security because it's for your own good. Because by the time you are 40 years old, you are not jumping, you are not hopping train to DC, you are not hopping train to New York. You want a soft life. If you want to relocate to California, you can do that. Because by the time you are 40, if you want to go for a master's, you go for it. If you want to go for CISSP or one of those crazy certifications in security, you go so become a manager because you're already built, you already have the background, you are not doing the hands-on anymore. You are managing, you are leading people, you are leading teams, you are scoring projects. So that's the goal. By the time you are 40, what are you going to do with your life? Do you still want to be clicking things around, running around, doing high? By that time, you should be a director, you should be a senior manager, you should be a senior program manager, you should be a director, right? Because the people we are competing with, they were born here at the age of 21, at the age of 19, they got their first job. They left college at the age of 19, at the age of 21. They got their first job. And then 4 years down the line, they got promoted. Now, 19 plus remove 19 from your age, right? So where were you at the age of 21, at the age of 19? Those are the people you are competing with. By the time these ones are 29, 10 years down the line, or 20 or 32, they already bought their second house because they are now senior solutions architect, senior cloud engineer, senior developer. They are now senior. So they are now leading teams. So by the time they are 40, they are directors. Those are the ones that become principal program manager, principal cloud architect, principal director, right? Principal security analyst, because those are the people we are competing with. And they've had like 20 years experience on their shoulder. So now we are trying to collapse 10 years into 6 months, into 1 year. That's the race. Those are the people and it's possible. You can do it. Okay. You can do it if you can do it. Now, how did you get this job? How many interviews did you take before you get this?
Man. So I think this is where I think Blex should tell you I was relentless. And he stayed up. I think when I passed the solutions architect, at that point, I think I kind of separated myself from my colleague who was already there because I was at the point in my career where I was like, no, this cannot. Mind you, I'm a database administrator, Oracle/SQL Server. So I wasn't really, or what's the best word to use? I wasn't really in a bad spot. So at night I'm never content, by the way. I'm always hungry. So Blex, now there was a night he stayed up with me the first time I started applying. I remember I passed my exam Saturday morning and we scheduled a time. He was like, nah, Sunday, come on, I gotta show you some stuff. So he helped me out with the resume. Sunday night, I remember from 11 to 2, we were together. He was telling me, here's what you need to do, here's what you need to look at, the kind of jobs you need to look, LinkedIn, all of this stuff. So the first day, he recorded the session with me. And mind you, he gave me some tricks to say on Sunday. I already knew the trick, but it wasn't like I forgot. I think I forgot about it. He reminded me. Sundays, 11 p.m., that's the spot you want to keep hitting applications because by Monday morning, your application will be sitting down there. So one of the tricks that he told me was, take every interview that comes your way. I was so focused because the last project was based off of security. So he taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about security. So the last project was based off of security. So I was like, maybe I'm going to just focus on security. So I was just focused on security. And I was always looking for senior positions, senior solutions architect, senior security architect, senior security engineer. So the first 3 months, all I was doing was getting interviews, record the interviews. Me and him will go through. I'll piggyback off of him. He would say, "Hey, I remember this very situation. I never forget the situation because this is what I said in my current role, the interview during my current role that Blex gave me." There was one time I was in an interview. I forgot how do you secure applications in how do you secure the virtual machines in the cloud? So the first interview I ever went to, I was doing so automatically, if you figure out that I was just saying whatever, I was just saying it. But he was like, listen, just say things like just in time, things like that. It just puts you in a different light, and that puts you. So I was exactly my current role. I I felt like it prepared all the interviews I had done, prepared me for this current role. I can tell you, I went to over 10 or 11, over 12 interviews, and mind you, each interview I learned and I carried something over to the next. I would piggyback off of Blex and say, see, I know I messed this up. How do you answer this? And he would come back and tell me, say this and say this. By the time I was ready for this interview, I didn't have to call him anymore. I literally just went in, he told me, you got it. The only problem now I would tell you is this. Like I always tell you guys, I was never satisfied. He never showed me anything about DevOps. And he said, listen, just read this part. And because my current role is really literally DevSecOps and DevOps, he was like, you just read this, do this, and say what you know very well. Confidently say what you know. Make sure you use examples, projects, and all of that. The interview was about DevOps. I went in there talking about security, went in there talking about offering solutions, never even said so much about DevOps, but they hired me to now learn how to do DevOps just because of the way literally I presented my own case. One thing I did on my own part was every single thing Blex was doing, it was like picture. Because one thing you guys don't understand, and he's a trainer for Microsoft. So basically, you have everything from the source. So everything he was doing, like how he demonstrates and puts all of this, that was exactly what I did. The diagram drawing and how to say this goes in here. Literally, that was what I did in the interview. Like literally, my manager was really impressed. She was like, "How do you break this stuff down? We have to contact contractors. We have to do this. We have to do that." I was like, listen, in my mind, I'm like, I don't really know anything. I just crammed what somebody showed me. And every single time I'm going into interviews and just putting it down. So literally I would piggyback after the class, I would piggyback, watch videos on my own time, try to trace the diagram. Simple things like applications, just try to do all of those stuff. Then it becomes second nature. Like that's really what happened. It became second nature. I started talking in interviews. I didn't need to call Blex anymore. I think there was one interview when I failed that interview, I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I knew the next one would be, I was ready. So I remember going into the interview. They were heavy on networking, security and networking. I think I called Blex and I was telling him they didn't tell me anything about this and that. But what I also noticed was that a lot of these cloud places are looking for champions. And this is where it gets tricky. What I mean by champions is that they hire you for one position, but literally you just cannot say, oh, I'm just going to only focus on this aspect. They want you to be well versed on all that aspects. So when I went back home that day, I didn't even sleep well because I felt like that was a job I should have got. I literally studied the networking. Even my exam, the security one, I failed. The part that I failed was networking. So that was like God telling me to say, listen, this is the part you have to go in and go and literally nail. So I told Bless, I said, I got to touch on this networking. The next day, the next week, literally, I focused on networking, became second nature. Then the interview came in. I just literally just blasted through the interviews, 10 questions. I was super confident, but I've got to tell you guys the truth. It was due to my failure from the interviews, the previous interviews. Everything was building, every story was building. So when you're failing through the process, know that you're failing forward, you're not failing backward, no matter how you feel. Literally, I've been in interviews whereby the first couple of interviews, I was just like, oh, Bless did not tell me this part or this one. But I just took note. I always taped my interview, replayed it with Blex, asked him, what do they mean by this? He would explain to me. So the first five interviews, I didn't know what I was saying. It was not until like maybe the sixth, seventh one, I just felt a little confident. And I think it was after I failed the 10th one, mind you, I was taking every interview. I did not want to stop. I said I was going to take a senior position. I didn't want anything less than a senior position. That was my personal goal. And literally now I'm in a great spot whereby my manager is telling me, like literally, I'm just like a week into it, and she's just telling me, hey, you're going to be looking at all this contractor, looking at everything they're doing from the security aspect to the DevOps aspect every single aspect. So what I took from the class literally carried over into my new job. Like I literally entered and started asking legit questions. It wasn't like any more of this baby stuff. So what I would tell you guys is honor your own process, man. Take it seriously. Take it like you're breathing. I was super hungry, man. I was super hungry and I had a goal. I said I wanted to move to the next level and I wanted it to be cloud. I wanted it to be Azure. I had that goal. I wrote it down and every single day I reminded myself and I celebrated from literally every certification. I was happy, I was passing, and I literally was like, no, this is the goal. I want to be a senior position. I want to be a senior person. I didn't want to take anything less than that role. I don't even want to come in and start telling you I want to be thrown into the fire. So what does that mean? I had to study. I had to study. I had to fail. I had to fail. And finally, God literally answered my prayer with God on my side because I prayed through the process. God answered my prayer. So if I could do it, you could do it. The only thing is don't be scared. Go for it. Even when you're failing, even when you don't know the answers, just know that it's part of a process, man. Because I could tell you from all the questions, I started looking at a trend and the questions they were asking me. Everybody wants to know how they secure application. And it's not each interview is different, but it kind of gives you the overview of what you need to know. But yeah, it was like the 10th, 11th. And that wasn't like this interview was like 3 rounds, really. It was 3 rounds. The first one was with the recruiter, the first one was with the team, and the other one was with the CIO. The CIO was much more interested in my leadership skills and how I could move a team forward and what I knew about Agile DevOps. So literally, when I figured out from the interview with the team, I figured that they wanted somebody who was going to be there. So right now, my role literally is I'll be looking at what every contractual person is because I'm the only person that is in-house. So my manager has been grilling me, throwing me into the woods. I am looking at certain things. I'm working with the DevOps SecOps teams right now. I'm being introduced to a lot more stuff. And that was not what Blex showed me, but literally in the interview, I separated myself, like he said, solutions architect. I was given solutions. I was giving them expert level solutions. And one thing I'll tell you is this, those videos from my class literally helped because I had to learn how to speak like somebody who works for Microsoft. That was the thing that separated me. My own thing was my manager said, as soon as I saw you had a solutions architect expert, I just knew this is my guy. And I started talking, I started doing diagrams, I started talking like expert. So the one thing you would get out of this class is you would actually get a source from the person who actually downloaded from Microsoft. All you got to do is listen to the key lingos, listen to the way he demonstrates, listen to the words he tells you, replay the buzzwords. Don't play with those buzzwords, man. Those buzzwords are the key thing. And whatever you know going to interviews, say it boldly. When you fail, you fail. That's okay. But literally, I copied Blex. Letting you know, I copied what he was saying from the diagram, literally all those things in classes and all of this stuff. So that's where I am. I'm actually in a great spot that I'm actually leading a team of contractors. My manager was like, you have to pick on what everybody's doing at the moment. So right now I'm going through a lot of stress. There's a lot also stress too. So I have to learn everybody's what they're doing in the cloud, what they're trying. Yeah, it's kind of crazy at the moment. So I have to understand because I'm the only permanent staff. Everybody else is contractual. So I would eventually, my manager said, eventually I'll be leading the team and what direction they'll be going into in DevOps, DevSecOps. So yeah, Blex can give you guys a rundown about DevOps and DevSecOps, but I wasn't really hired, I wasn't really trained for that, but because of what the way I presented myself, that kind of separated me from
Learn on the job.
the crowd.
You will learn on the job. The most important thing is you get in. Okay. So, like I said, this is a 10-year race. You're collapsing it into 6 months. Some people you were competing with, they've been doing it for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
But you just broke the glass ceiling and you came in. You lowered yourself in through the glass ceiling. So, of course, it might be shaky, but of course, you didn't get to this point on a platter of gold. You had to fight your way through. So the habits you have developed in the last 1 year is what you're still going to use here. So the time you take for personal study, watch videos. If you are driving, put on your YouTube. So if they're talking about DevSecOps, now look for the guys that are very good on DevSecOps in Azure on YouTube, right? Bind them. If you're driving from 695, I-695, that stretch, maybe from White Marsh to Columbia. So you know that stretch. So just put on your video and be listening. You don't need to watch it, just listen. See, you'll be dreaming that you were deploying pipeline. You just dream. Sometimes when I'm doing some things on the job, and like this thing is messed up. Oh, I'm tired. I'll just shut down my computer. I go out and play, go and eat. If it's a weekend, I look for the next party. I go and party. Then by the time I come back on Sunday night, I'll just have a flash that why don't you write the script this way? Or why don't you try to inject this deployment using another technique? I'll just get an inspiration. Sometimes you might be sleeping, I'll just see yourself working on the computer. So it gets to the point where you just get that inspiration. Look at all these guys, all these Bill Gates, all these Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, all those guys, the way they get their inspiration, sometimes they are in the gym. They are at the gym, they are playing soccer or they are playing softball. They just have an inspiration and they're gonna note it on their phone. And the next thing they're gonna run with that vision, they're gonna run with that goal. And then you see new result. Oh, what's going on? Who knows what Mark Zuckerberg was doing when he thought of Oculus, right? So whatever you are doing now, you have to be hungry. And I keep telling us, do we have any question for Nduka before he leaves? You must have question, please. I didn't.
Me, I have a question for you because we forget your class. But sorry for you guys. I have questions for Blair. So maybe you guys don't know. I like to be. I have questions for you. No, I'm just joking. Let me let them.
Kevin, Kemi, Michael, please. I want you to ask at least one question. Please. You may never get this opportunity again. I want you to ask one question each, please. Kemi, you want to go first?
Can we have your email address so we can reach out to you?
Oh, sure.
Sure. That's it.
That's cool beans.
That's cool. That's easy. Yes, sure. As long as you're a Blex alumni, it's a network that I'm telling you guys. It's a network for life. As long as you guys are hungry, pushing, because one thing you're going to understand in this journey is not everybody's just as hungry as you are, and you can't let somebody else dim your light. And that should you go over with somebody else's time. You just got to do what you have to do. But if you're striving, yes, but just keep pushing. Yeah, you can always get my email. That's not.
Yeah. I'll share that.
That's not that. As long as you're.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I guess my main thing is like the interview. So like what kind of, I mean, maybe not as much technical, but what do you think separated you from interview 1 to interview 10, 11? Like what do you think was the difference? Was it specifically the way was it more soft skills or was it more,
Okay.
I guess,
see.
technical?
Yeah. So it's more technical. Soft skills. Sorry to let you know, this we're in the field whereby soft skills. I would people say it's how would I even put it? People say a lot of people think soft skills is not really needed in this field where we are, but I'm of the opinion that it's a 50-50. But I'll just answer your question. It was more technical. I became a little bit more confident in what I was saying. Because everybody at the moment wants somebody who could do everything. That's what I think. From my experience, everybody wants to know, what do you know in the cloud? Can you come in and fit into our system? So soft skills for me, most of the time, I don't think anybody really, to be honest with you, all my interviews, I don't think anybody really asked me so much of soft skills like, how are you like, oh, how would you handle this issue with a coworker, blah, blah, blah. All throughout the whole rounds were all technical. We just went straight and just hit me with technical questions. So I would say focus more on the technical. I think people can read whether you can communicate with people a lot more, but focus more on the technical aspect. Knowing your things to the T, giving good examples. They want to know the failures you encountered. Let's just say when you implemented a virtual machine using Cloud Shell, when you used PowerShell, things like that. What were the issues you ran into? Those things are the simple things. I would say that was actually another thing that separated me too, is I always tied my each questions they asked me to an experience and the failures that I had and how did I resolve those things. So now I'm in a space whereby it's more agile because I'm actually agile based. So I'm a CSM. So I'm a Scrum Master, certified Scrum Master. So everything I was doing was kind of like in that frame of mind, tailoring it towards that frame of mind. Say we want to focus more on the people, not necessarily on, what's going on. So those are simple stuff I would tell you, but in your interviews, you want to give them problems you encounter. You want to give them how you solve the problems, the steps you took towards doing that. And even if you didn't resolve the problem, show that you made some effort towards investigating towards the problems, state the efforts you made, and simple. Those are things that really separate you from the next person. The solutions you implemented, yeah, yeah, it's more technical. Yeah, I would go right there. Hopefully that helped you. That's clear.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michael.
Yeah, so very impressed by I can see why you rocking it. Sound like a 10-year experience professional. But the question do you have like sample interview recordings or just from how sometimes you can learn by just playing stuff gives you a good
Yeah,
idea of like some of the questions that you could encounter. It's kind of like
yeah.
being on the football field and you see it on the drawings and you go on the field. Sometimes it could be different. So just practicing at home and hearing kind of how the questions are posed might be helpful if you do have it. And also, did you encounter remote or hybrid positions? What did the landscape look like during those interviews?
Okay. So it depends. So let me start with the first question. The first one you said, how did I, the interview, do I have materials from my interviews? Yes and no. So basically, this is my trick. The last project, I did already at the project phase. Blex, I did already at the project phase.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes.
So what I did was that whole project. What I would tell you is this: literally break everything down. I could send you my own answers, how I did. Is it the same one or you changed it?
I added to it. I added to it.
Okay.
It's the same one, but
So basically, what I did, that was how I. So basically, my experience was all about that. Everything I knew about interviews was about that. How did you secure application? Hub and spoke. I can remember that. I think I can remember some of that interview, that very project. Hub and spoke. What did you do? Like how did you secure networking, securing all of that? Now, another thing that we also did was, which each interview is different. Something is always different, right? There's always going to be one thing different. You can always read on this stuff. Microsoft Learn is your best tool. You literally, Microsoft/Learn, I think, is your best tool you can use. Microsoft has everything in there, and it has ways for you to break it down and what you can employ. So literally, that is what I did, and that's exactly what I did. But if you still want my own interviews and the processes in which I did, I have no problem sharing that with you. Two, your other question was interviews. So I got to a point in the interview that initially I was like, I only wanted remote, 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 remote. But what I realized during the remote process, the whole interview, all the remote positions would say, okay, we need you to travel somewhere. So I actually got into a third phase of interview, but that place was in Seattle. It was actually for a senior security architect. So they told me I had to move, and that was like the third phase. So literally, I had to be in person for like the last phase, but I couldn't do that because, man, they require you to stay for like, I think I forgot, and you have to come down there for a while, 3 months or 4 months. Two, I wasn't really interested. I only did that just because of the whole process. So what I realized was that it was much more difficult for you to find remotes, fully remotes is just difficult. Most of them required you moving. Even though it was remote, they required that you be a resident of that state most of the time. So that was a difficulty I encountered in the beginning. So as I started applying more within the area, so I narrowed my search I started narrowing my search to New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, DC. Then I started looking at, okay, where can I go in 2 days a week? That was a game changer. So at least 2 days a week, I could do that. So literally, I was blessed. To be honest with you, this is how God works. My job is 15 minutes away from my house, and it is 4 days in the house. Only 1 day going into the office.
That's great.
So it took a while. Yeah. So it literally took a while. So I had to change that mindset to say, okay, you know what? I want it fully remote because it wasn't coming. They wanted me to come down there. They wanted me to literally at least be a resident. Most of the time, they wanted residents. So what I noticed is they preferred residents or people who were close by. So the Seattle one was the one that really hurt me. And I think it was after that one that I realized that I was ready because it was a senior security architect, as opposed to now I'm actually in a completely different. I didn't think I was ever going to be in DevOps because every time I spoke to Blex, it was like, well, if you find something in there, you can go in, but he was never like literally concrete because he was pushing for security. But now I'm in a role whereby I have to learn DevOps before I actually venture into DevSecOps because eventually my goal is to be a DevSecOps engineer. So now I have to take it to understand DevOps first before I understand the other part, which is DevSecOps. So God kind of worked everything out for me that even with the team I'm managing, I have to even look at, I wouldn't say manage, but lead. I have to look at what they're doing with DevSecOps. So I would say this, have a really open mind. Have a really open mind, be open to learn. Um, don't limit yourself to what's only remote, remote, remote. Have a mindset of hybrid 2 days a week because you're trying to break into a place, you're trying to break into a thing. Another thing too, you have to understand is most companies now are now building, they want to build their culture back. So nobody wants to just be with somebody who is just fully remote in California and the office is in Maryland. So how are we going to be able to understand that this person really understands the business side of the business side of everything? Not just, oh, I'm just running command, that's the end of it. People are actually paying attention to the culture of the company. So now COVID changed, but COVID is kind of, people are trying to find out the middle ground. So you have to put that into perspective because in the hiring process, they want to know how does this person come in and fit into the culture and how can this person help promote the culture. So literally, because one thing that happened recently was my manager was like, all of us now, how God really works it is that I was having issues with my previous manager because having children, she wasn't really accommodating. So she wasn't really accommodating with that. So there's some days I would have to stay home. She wasn't really accommodating. But here, this manager, man, she has 2 kids. Literally, if I literally have an issue with that one day going into the office, I don't have to make it up. It's gone and it's passed. As long as I get my work done, I meet with people. So you literally have to, I would say this, you literally have to be open-minded because they could tell you 2 days going in. And when you get there, you find out that your manager is like, you know what, Michael, you're a good guy. You get your work done. That's fine. You can stay one more day. Oh, you have a child. That's fine. So just literally have an open mind. Just go in there. Sometimes you literally have to kiss. I wouldn't say kiss ass, but you literally have to fake the first couple of weeks in there to be able to gain a couple more things. So I'd say just have an open mind, man. And the sky is your limit. The sky is your limit.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, of course, there will always be questions to ask. So what's going to happen is once this,
No,
yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
So I'm running, guys. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm going to pick Black's brain into something. So I'm running into an issue, right? So Power BI. So I said I was going to call you for this. So we have some some reports on Power BI. So on the feed itself, it's slow, but on the dashboard itself, it's like 5 minutes. So we need to have a 5 minutes wait time.
Hmm. 5 minutes wait
Are you
time.
laughing or you already? It seems like you already know what's.
I'm trying to
So
understand.
5 minutes wait time. So for the table to refresh.
Okay,
So for the table to refresh, sorry,
okay.
right? So basically, the table is not necessarily. So my question will be: so the table is not necessarily refreshing as it should because it's supposed to be a live feed from Azure.
Yes.
Now I have asked, yes. So I have asked, what are the performance tools or performance tuning tools that we can use in Azure that can easily help us out?
What is the
Okay.
data you are trying to visualize?
I guess we'll have another session for that. I can show you everything once we're done. Yeah, but the data is really about driver's license, the transportation, electric cars, all of that thing. It's just about vehicles.
We talk at the back. No. I'm recording this.
Oh, okay, okay.
We'll talk
Oh,
about
sorry.
no for is a proprietary conversation. But it's gonna depend, regardless, it's gonna
Oh,
depend on the kind of data, then where is being sourced from, then and so maybe whoever created the pipeline for collecting the data, they had maybe they said a cron job, cron. Maybe they said so something like sequencing,
yeah, cron job.
yeah,
Yeah.
sequencing how the data should be collected, how often, maybe every 2 hours, every 1 hour. So maybe there's a cron job that creates that delay of 5 minutes, after 5 minutes. I've seen that on Fabric. So
That is what I was looking for.
Fabric
That cron job could be the delay.
could
Yes.
be a cron job. So
Yes.
you need to have access to the backend, the script that was written to collect the data from whatever it is in Azure into Power BI. So you need to have access to it. You need to see how they are connected. If you see the code, you'll be able to know whether there was a cron job or whether there's another sequencing strategy that was put in place. But we can look it up together.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look it up together.
Okay.
So for everyone, what's going to happen is there's another group. They don't really talk in that group. They are all bellyful. So I'm going to add everyone to that group. That's going to be like a bigger community. So if you have questions, you can post your questions there. People that have the chance, they will respond, but usually I will respond. So Nduka, yeah, you are free to leave now if you want, unless you want to stay with us.
Thank you. So when can I call you? Guys, you must know that he's your resource for life. When can I call you so we can we can, we
Uh,
can look at it?
yes.
I need. Yeah, let's. Oh, don't worry. We'll talk. Just
No,
joking.
no.
Yeah,
Let's
we'll
chat.
talk offline.
Let's
Yeah,
chat.
it was nice meeting everybody, man.
Yeah, you too, and great job.
Thank.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Wow.
So that's a few nuggets from Unduka. It was very encouraging. It's encouraging when you can see the fruit of your labor. Now you might be looking at me like, Shebi collected money. Shebi I collected money from him. Of course, if you don't pay, you won't value it. If you don't pay for this, I will be the one running after you to attend this class. But because your money is there, you'll be committed because you don't want your money to go to waste. That's just a check to make sure that you are in compliance. Compliance. That's to show that you are in compliance. because if your